Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is Leading Off, brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. It's me, Joey P. Joe Pizzapia. With me is the Welsh, who's a little red from being outside in the sun yesterday. A little bit, you got to reapply. Welsh, you got to reapply. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you see what I mean, and that's a Fantasy Pros MLB, where you can subscribe. We are growing every single day. We got videos dropping. We got podcasts. We got everything. We also have a Max Scherzer return to baseball last night. We're going to talk about some refresh of the top 10 prospects in baseball. I want to get Mr. Prospect himself, Mr. Prospect One's opinions on that. We've got betting. We've got DFS. We've got everything. Welsh, how the hell are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Pretty good. See this little scorpion that's right up here? I'm almost the same color. I did not realize. I was out celebrating multiple birthdays, going head to head with snakes, and just a foot away from the sun. But otherwise, I'm good,
just
Joe.
A foot away from the sun. Yes, it's I keep reminding everybody, you don't have to live in these places where there's 120 degree weather, where there's no water, where there's scorpions and things like this. It's the same goes for the people who live in these places where it snows for, 6 months and they can't get out of their house. You don't have to live like this, folks. You can move around. It's a lot easier.
To your point, though, you would start centralizing everybody to like 3 or 4 states. You're like, you don't have to live in the really hot. You don't have to live in the really cold. There's not many more states that don't kind of encompass that. Like by Montana, by East Coast, you're going to put people in like California. I don't even know where else you would like. What
I feel like qualify? All these places. Well, what about like Oklahoma and Nebraska and all those states that I can't identify in a map because they all look the same to me? It feels like 10 people live there. I'm sure that we can put a Starbucks there and people will move. We'll get some like that South Park episode where we get some LaCroix or whatever the hell that seltzer is.
I like that you assume there's no Starbucks in Oklahoma right now. That actually is my favorite thing of the day. You're like, we'll modernize that old state there, that old Oklahoma. We'll get them.
Oh, yes, I see my cousin Donnie, of course, our cousin Donnie, the show's cousin, is in the chat today, which is very nice. And yes, I'm wearing a fancy shirt. I had to do TV this morning, so there you go. By the way, this is before we get to baseball, one last thing. I had a Manscaped shirt for my cousin. His kids were here visiting my kids over the July 4th weekend. They were here from Arizona. I gave them one job: take this shirt back to your father. They left my house. They didn't take it. So now I got to mail it to him. It's just... Kids are the worst. They just don't follow through with anything. By the way, we also have a winner from the Photoshop contest, and it's one of the Peanuts and Cracker Jacks Elite. We'll get to that a little later. Let's get to baseball.
I'm glad you did not do this without me yesterday. We had a little confusion about who was going to be there yesterday, and I'm very glad that it wasn't done without me because this was one of my favorite contests.
This is your brainchild.
This is my contest.
Come on, let's do it. Let's get to that person there in a bit. But first, Max Scherzer striking out 11. It was a season high, 11 strikeouts. 6 shutout innings for Max Scherzer. I wish the Mets had some offense, but alas, that was not to be. But Scherzer looking good. I think this is very important, Welsh, because, from a fantasy standpoint, from an investment standpoint, wagering, all of those things in real life baseball, waiting and not pushing Max Scherzer with this injury seems like the right call because the Max Scherzer you got was the one you wanted. We joked before the season, right? Kind of half joking, but really serious. We're going to get 50 starts between these two guys. I don't think we're going to hit that mark. We might, who knows? But this is the Scherzer you need for the stretch run for your fantasy leagues, and certainly the Mets need him as well.
Yeah, and when you were saying that, I was wondering to myself, when's the last time we didn't get that Max Scherzer? When's the last not Max Scherzer? He is the epitome of consistency when he's out there. He ended up getting 15 swing and misses. Nick Lodolo had a great performance as well, but Scherzer went in, had the top velo in the game, 15 swing and misses, which were tied for the most. Obviously, him and Lodolo did that. And he was just like right back at it. The fastball was getting got 19 actual full swings through, 5 whiffs on it in general. The velo was up. I mean, he looked fantastic. He is the epitome of consistency. And what makes him difficult, I think, for a lot of people is these guys that are injured, you kind of have to rectify. He is like right at the top. Like this is a guy that's been out for a while and he goes back at the top. I've had the same question with DeGrom. What do you start doing with DeGrom? For my rest of season ranks, I'm putting him really far back up there. There's a consideration you can obviously have for the injury proneness that he's going to carry. But once he gets back out, I know we're going to talk about him. We already saw him out in a minor league performance. where do you go? Like, can you not put Max Scherzer in your top 5 SPs rest of season after him coming back healthy and showing no ill signs?
Let's do it right here. Alcantara.
Yep.
He's got to be in the top 5.
McClanahan, number 1.
McClanahan. Verlander's got to be in that conversation. Cole's got to be in their station. So that's 4.
And you
then
got
we get
Burns.
to Musgrove, Corbin Burns, like those guys. I mean, Max is in the top 10, but because of his age, and I know Verlander's, 400 years old too, but because of his age, I think you have to at least, bump him out of that top 5. But he is worthy of top 5 talent. He's worthy of top 5 consideration, but I've a hard time ranking him there. I am fascinated to see what McClanahan does in the next 80 innings. That's the one thing about that. Sure. Everybody's on the McClanahan wagon right now. You know me, I'm Team Verlander for the Cy Young. I have been all year. I'm not going to change horses now. But I'm fascinated to see, can he run the table here? Because if he doesn't, it's Verlander's award, and it's going to be over
for the AL.
I'm telling you right now.
So like in the clump, I think the tier 1 clump is McClanahan, Burns, Cole, and Alcantara. That's like clump 1 of consistency.
And how do you not put Musgrove in?
But that's my problem. So I think tier 2 is the Verlander, Musgrove. I think you got, even though in consistencies, if we're talking about fantasy, Dylan Cease is kind of be in there with the strikeouts.
He's been very consistent.
Yeah, I'm probably forgetting somebody. But then my question is, does Scherzer go back into that? Because, preseason, Scherzer was top 2 or 3 overall in SP, misses time, but he's back and he's back at it. So what's the thing that moves him off? Is it that he had an injury? I mean, he's showing no ill signs. He's right back at it. And that's why I think there's always a really interesting discrepancy of these guys when, somebody said Wheeler. Wheeler could, I don't know if Wheeler's in that tier 2, probably in the next tier 3.
I don't think so. He's in that next grouping. Yeah.
Is there an opportunity? Is there that trade acquisition opportunity out there when we haven't quite placed him back? 2 more starts like this of Scherzer, and we're going to be like, oh yeah, we forgot he is one of the best pitchers alive, even though he's a million years old. And you're saying Verlander's so easy over him. I'm not even so sure. I just think that the top 4 is a clump that's theirs, and then that next tier of guys, which I think Scherzer has to go back into, is open for interpretation. Verlander has a longer season.
Where we rank DeGrom when he comes back is a more fascinating conversation.
It is a much more fascinating
That's
question.
The one. Let's save that for another day, because we're going to have to fill time eventually.
I think it's a much bigger debate. Fill time.
We're going to have to do that on the day where we don't have baseball by the All-Star break time. Where do we you know what? We should do that. We should do our official rest of season rankings. Let's make that day after the All-Star break. That's what we'll do, because there's no actual games to talk about. Nobody cares.
We'll have more Photoshop contests. We'll have a mustache Photoshop contest, maybe on me and Joe. That'll be the next one.
Sandy Alcantara was dominant over 8 scoreless innings. This is a player that's not going to be on the Marlins much longer. I'm just telling you guys, they're not going to pay him. It's just not going to happen. So I would be, there's certain things like you want to buy low on people. He's a buy high in any keeper dynasty format. If you can get Sandy Alcantara for the next few years when he goes out and gets paid a ton of money. And this is it's been a fascinating journey for him, because this was a guy that flashed this dominant moments. And I remember he used to own the Mets when he first came up. He would be dropping 10K games against the Mets. Then he would struggle against other teams, but you could see it. You could see the talent was there, and him putting it all together in the last year and a half, just been unbelievable. Chris Bryant's hiding. Finally, a home run for the Rockies. So there you go. We're at 1. There you go.
He did it.
You did it. Yay. Participation trophy for Chris Bryant.
He did
Kyle Schwarber hit 2. Continues to be a slugging value all across the board in fantasy and for the Phillies. He was a great signing. I love this signing for the Phillies this year. Varsho had a 3-homer game versus the Giants there. Cedric Mullins reached base 5 times, and a lot of MVP chance for Jordan Alvarez. And of course, he hit a home run yesterday too. So I picked Jordan Alvarez for 5-6 days. He didn't home run. I was about to say, do
you just have
every
him
other day? No, but I picked him again today, which means he won't. So everybody, spoiler alert. But look, he's not MVP. He can't leapfrog Ohtani, and it's going to be hard to leapfrog Judge too. So I mean, it's a fun conversation, but it's not one worth having.
It's cute. It's cute, Astro fans. Cute. Like not to be demeaning or anything. Like, it's super fun. Yeah, you're so adorbs. We love you. All your little cute things. Like, oh, you want to be a fireman when you grow up, and you also want Jordan to win the MVP. You can do it.
Your name starts with a Y, but we say it like a J. It's so adorable. It's fun.
I love it.
It's so cute.
I love it.
It was very swingers just then of us. Like we're just beating around the bunny.
You're just like a big bear, man.
Like
You
a
got
big
these
bear.
these fangs and these
claws.
claws. You don't know what to
almost,
do to this
you
little
almost
bunny.
got us canceled for a second there.
Yeah. No, I know how to do it. I know not to do the whole bit.
Claws. Injuries to talk about. Kyle Hendricks leaves start with a sore shoulder. That ain't good. CT scan shows no issues for Craig Kimball's back. X-rays clean on Bobby Witt Jr.'s hand after he exited the game, so that's positive, but no MRI results yet for Frankie Montas' shoulder. Welsh, Montas, go.
Don't like it. No, I don't like it. One of the top trade guys on the market. Man. I mean, I want him to move on to another team. I want another team to curate him with offensive support and better defensive support and just, anything that Oakland doesn't provide. And a shoulder injury is a major worry. This is something that could completely derail the trade value. It could derail part of the season if it's even mildly bad. So I'm very concerned. And obviously fantasy owners should be really, really concerned about the results of this.
This is the worst too for the A's because they looked like geniuses about 3 weeks ago, waiting for the Montas market, right? They went ahead and they traded Manaea before the season started. And they waited for this Montas market to build, and it is built to a fever pitch. But then that one, the injury can destroy it. And now they're going to have remorse if they can't move him or people, get sketchy about the medicals.
You almost wonder if it's like something the Reds would deal with Molly and Castillo. Like, I don't know if they move either or move only one, but seeing something like that, you wonder if it gives any pause to teams. Maybe, I don't know, maybe kicking the tires a little bit on this trade market.
I don't think I talked about this with you. I might have mentioned it yesterday with Boggs, but we had a big discussion on the Sunday show on Sports Grid about this, which I had the brainchild of. If you're the Minnesota Twins, you go out to the Reds and you get Castillo and Molly. You trade Royce Lewis because ACL injuries are not what they used to be. You have, you signed Correa anyway, so you're living there. Royce Lewis isn't going to help you this year. You move Larnach, you move Kirilloff, you take back those two pitchers and you try to compete for that Central. What do you think of that blockbuster concept?
So you're doing Larnach, Kirilloff, and Royce Lewis.
I'm saying
Molly
here's 3 position player ready to go day one in your lineup Cincinnati Red guys on opening day next year.
Next year, I was about to say, one of them.
Next year. Royce Lewis is going to be out for this year, but like 3 guys you can say, okay, this is our rebuild. Here's our players we're going to rebuild around. And you get 2 legitimate front end starters now into that rotation to go with Ryan and whatever else you can piece together who's healthy. What do you think of that blockbuster concept of going out there, not getting the 1, but going for the 2 and just going all in if you're the Twins? Because the Guardians are starting to come back to earth a little bit. The White Sox are still the White Sox. They're like 1 step up and 2 steps back. Yeah. I think the Twins should go all in here and give it a shot.
I mean, I agree that they should go all in. Would I do that trade if I'm them? I mean, probably 2 controllable young pitchers who are big strikeout guys. You have a formidable rotation now. The realism of that happening, I feel like the Reds would need pitching back. They've done a half decent job. They got this guy Joe Doyle. They acquired Connor Phillips in the offseason. They've got a couple of guys. They've obviously got Green and Lodolo to back off of, but I wouldn't say they have a ton more. So they would need something back. The Twins don't exactly have tons of pitching, but they got this kid Jordan Balazovic. So I'm picking hairs here. Like maybe it ends up being Royce Lewis and Kirilloff, and then maybe they trade one of those pitching prospects and another young guy. At the end of the day, yeah, I would do it if I'm the Twins.
I think it helps
make it happen. I'm a Kirilloff believer. I'm a a Royce Lewis believer, but you got to go on. You spent the money on Correa.
So you might as well move him. I mean, he showed you.
Well, as long as Correa comes back, though. If Correa doesn't come back,
well, I think that's the caveat. The caveat is if you go and you win, isn't that an easier sell to Carlos Correa to come back?
No, I agree with that. If
right, so it's sort of chicken and egg in that sense. Like make that move. You're Minnesota. Go ahead and go all in. This is your opportunity to win the Central and maybe be the front runner next year too. Who knows what's going on with these? Aloy Mena is supposed to come back, and everyone's waiting for him to come back, and everyone's looking at each other, go, "What's going on here?" White Sox are just.
It's a really interesting concept of like Royce, maybe do Josh Winder, and then one of Larnach and Kirilloff. I feel like the team would want to keep Kirilloff. I'm just big on him. He's really starting to turn the corner. Power's getting back, major contact guy, just a super smart kid.
I am too,
but I don't think it would hold it up. I don't think it would hold it up here.
No,
but Larnach, Winder, and Royce would probably be as good.
Castillo and Molly put you in the conversation that if you got in the playoffs with Castillo, Molly, and Joe Ryan, you have a puncher's chance.
Yeah,
you just do. And you would look good next year too, because those guys are, I believe, both controllable. Neither are free. Is Molly a free
I
agent?
believe that's part of the problem that's keeping Castillo and Molly not from being moved, is they're still controlled. We're not even through arbitration, I think, with Molly.
And that's why you have to give them not prospects. You have to give them major league ready young talent that's pre-arbitration. They can get in there and go ahead, and you can sell that to the fan bases. Like, look, Lodolo, Green, that's the future of our pitching staff. Hopefully those guys become who we think they can be. I know there's been some struggles this year, but they're kids. And then you build around this young talent. And that's what you try to do. That's what I'd like to see. It's a fun conversation. We just spent more time on the Twins than we spent all year on the Twins. So good for them.
Hey, good for us.
Let's talk about this updated top 100 prospect list. Looks a little different here. Just came through from Major League Baseball. Number 1, Riley Green had himself a nice night. Francisco Alvarez, the catching prospect for the Mets, is number 2. And all you dynasty people out there, all you keeper league people, he just moved up to AAA last week. Corbin Carroll of the Diamondbacks was number 3. Grayson Rodriguez at 4. Gunnar Henderson at 5. So the Orioles have 2 guys at 4 and 5 in the top 5. Moreno for the Blue Jays at 6, the catching prospect there. Jordan Walker for the Cardinals at 7. Anthony Volpe at 8, who I actually got to see play in person a few weeks ago over in New Jersey. It was very fun. Good player. He reminds me a lot of Pedroia. He in that, like, skill set wise, and the way he turns on the ball. He's very Pedroia-esque. I see a Pedroia-esque career for him. A little bit stronger in the lower half, a little bit thicker of a kid. Pedroia was very slight, especially when he was young. Luciano is 9 for the San Francisco Giants, and Marcelo Mayer is 10 for the Red Sox. And I cannot wait for Mayer to make it to the big league so that Mike Mayer can get a Red Sox jersey that has his name spelled wrong. That's what I'm looking for.
That would be great. Absolutely. Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. This list, here's the funny thing that always happens. This is why one of the reasons I jumped in like 4 or 5 years ago in, making sure I was curating a list that was prospect centric for fantasy. And I go out and see lots of these guys. I try to incorporate best I can from, watching video to studying stats, but also seeing them in person. But translating is always the goofiest thing. The very first episode of Prospect One I ever did was with Jonathan Mayo. And we had this discussion where at that time, I've said this a million times. It was like Ahmed Rosario was like 3 overall in their prospects. And I was like, okay, but this is heavy on defense. If it was just about offense, he's like, oh, he'd be in the 20s. So it's something that people have to rectify when you read these type of lists, because here, the thing that jumps out,
it's about baseball, not about fantasy necessarily.
Yeah. But there's 2 catchers on the top 10. But I mean, this is relative to mine.
It would have been 3 if Rutschman didn't get called up.
100%. You have all these catchers. I have Riley Green at 1. I've got Corbin Carroll at 2. Gunnar Henderson has jumped into my top 10. Jordan Walker, I think I have at 4 or 5. Volpe. So, I mean, I've got like half of these guys inside of my top 10 here. So this, is a solid list, but what will happen, and this is why these are important as well, is much of us that, pay attention to Eric Cross or James over at RotoWire or myself and my list at inthisleague.com, there's so many people that live and die by these type of lists, by like Pipelines or Baseball Americas. So it's good for you to know the value of some of these sites, because that might help take advantage or create more value. You have more value in Gabriel Moreno or Francisco Alvarez than the fantasy market is giving you with Pipeline. So that might create a better trade for you to get some more assets.
Really good point. I like that. Here's another interesting piece I wanted to talk about. This came out on SNY, which is the Mets television network. Andy Martino wrote a piece. It says some league executives speculate that if DeGrom returns throwing 100 miles an hour, he could tempt another team to offer a contract above what the Mets consider rational, quote unquote. So there's a lot of people thinking that, that the DeGrom opt-out might mean the end of DeGrom for the Mets. Is that something that you think is true, or do you think potentially, I know it's kind of early to talk about this, but it was very provocative. It's getting a lot of traction, especially in the New York area right now, about, is DeGrom going to opt out, and how far will Uncle Steve go? Because it's a real question. As talented as he is, how much of an investment do you want to make, even if you're somebody who likes to throw money around?
I just don't know if there's any team on a lower year base that is going to beat the Mets, because I assume no team is going to come out and give, because how old is DeGrom right now? 33?
Yeah.
33,
something like that. Yeah.
So okay. We should probably know exactly how he is, because this is important to my conversation. To what I'm going to say.
I'm in the midst of football, NFL,
he's 34.
MLB crossover. Okay. So my brain is mush.
So he's 34.
34.
I think the best you could logistically get from a team, and they would obviously tier the years, is maybe 5 years. No team is going to go, maybe you get that Brady thing where you get into 40. I think it's a 5-year contract is what you can get. Now, that even makes me believe, I don't know how a single team from an annual basis over that amount of years, the problem that teams have is all these stupid contracts are 10 and 12 and 13 years now, and teams get decimated. The Arizona Diamondbacks decimated themselves by the Zach Greinke signing. They had to Paul Goldschmidt is off of the Arizona Diamondbacks because of the failed Zach Greinke signing. It's a fact, and the Diamondbacks haven't even disputed it. So you can dismantle your entire team by those contracts, but 4 or 5 years does not. Even if you look at 3 years, I don't know a team that's going to go on a higher annual per year basis than the Mets. Cohen will just drop the cash. He'll drop whatever they have to drop to keep a guy like him with the Mets. So this is fun to speculate. I think it's a weird article. If he returns to throwing 100, guess what? He did. He threw 100 in the minors. He still has the same injury issues. No one's going to give him over 5 years. How does anybody beat the Mets pocketbook? How?
Pressure from an organization that thinks that we got to go in and take a shot. And I guess that's the one to me. Looking around that landscape, I don't know. I mean, if Kershaw doesn't come back, do the Dodgers try that?
Dodgers are a great point. Doing it. I'll tell you that there's no chance in the history of baseball. There's no chance that the Yankees could offer that the Mets. Thank you, Dr. Glenn. There's no way that the Mets would let the Yankees outbuy them in this scenario. So
that
who
is
are the
true.
other teams?
The Yankees
there's
no
chance.
The Dodgers are the one to come to mind because of, again, I think
that
Kershaw was one more ride off into the sunset. And then when Kershaw is gone, it frees up money and it frees up a rotation spot. And Walker Buehler's health is questionable. So there's a lot of pressure there because you've made some heavy investments in Mookie Betts, in Freddie Freeman, that if you don't have a pitching staff, it's all for naught.
I just don't know if they can, with the money they've spent positionally, if they could even compete.
But Kershaw comes off the books. And with Kershaw off the books, I'm trying to think there's another piece there too. I mean, I think, I don't know what Turner, didn't Turner was an option? I could be wrong. I guess another guy that was getting, I think they can make it work, but more importantly, they might have to, because once you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. There's no way the Dodgers can't continue to, be all in with the
I think the Dodgers can compete, but I think at the end of the day, you do have a Mets team that has stood behind Jacob DeGrom. They're not afraid to spend money. They brought him in a 1B, 1A starter in Max Scherzer. They've got the offense. I just don't see a scenario. The best thing working in favor of the Mets here is the amount of years on the contract. I think that works greatly in their favor, because if there was a team like the Cardinals and he was 32 years old and they say, screw it, we're going to give him 10 years and we'll just, front load a little bit of it and the 2 years are out. Okay, maybe things change. But in this scenario with 4 or 5 years maximum, I just don't see it. I see the Mets.
It's funny. Here's Brian in the chat saying that, the Dodgers will have to pay to keep Trey Turner because he's a free agent this year. Now, I don't know if they're going to. I'm gonna come out flat out and just tell you, I could see them going another direction with that potentially. And if the Nationals are serious about keeping Juan Soto, it would not shock me if the Nationals decide to go back out and try to bring back Trey Turner. Because
I thought you were going to do the whole Juan Soto. Did you see Juan Soto bought a house in LA? Little TMZ action. He bought a $7.7 million house in LA, and people were photoshopping Dodgers on him.
He ain't going to the Dodgers. I mean, why would he buy a house in Los Angeles? What?
Could you pick a worse market to buy a house in for just every reason, taxes and price? And
no, but if you've got a lot of money and you want to see it grow even more, real estate in Los Angeles seems like a good idea.
I guess when you got 400 million coming in the wings here, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
I'm going to put 10 million in this house, and in 3 years it'll be worth 17. Okay, that's good investment. It's good.
I might have waited. I might wait a little bit. Juan Soto,
Mike
but
Mayer's
hey, you've
got a real estate show coming on HGTV where he just goes in, and what happens is they redo the houses, and then afterwards he hates everything that they've done.
Ooh, okay.
He hates everything that they've redone. It's terrible. It's like, this open concept really, it just makes the house feel cavernous. I don't like it at all. The basement game room, didn't turn out the way he wanted to. He can't fit the ping pong table. Everything about the remake of it is terrible.
I like it. It's called House Flip Off. It's called House Flip Off with Mike Mayer. I like it.
House Flip Off with Mike Mayer.
Boom.
And he does this.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it this way. So we both
blurred
hands the same way.
With a blurred
hand. Can you lean in?
You
got to lean in the other way on the YouTube channel to lean in on the box. There you go. There's the screenshot.
But then there's got to be
your
like a
moment in
blurred
time.
hand in the background somewhere.
Oh my God. All right, let's get to this day in baseball history. 1989, despite retiring on May 29th, Mike Schmidt was elected to the All-Star game for the National League as the starting third baseman.
Fun. Isn't it fun, the voting? It's so fun.
And the best part, then Jose Canseco, who hadn't played a game all season because of a wrist injury, was also elected to the All-Star game. Neither played in the game. And it just was a reminder that stupid nonsense has gone on in the All-Star game for many years.
Yeah,
that's
a joke.
That's
well, it's the fan voting is always a joke.
Speaking of All-Star game, how about a little trivia? Which player has the most All-Star games as a Marlin, as a member of the Marlins, who has been in the most All-Star games? If you know the answer, drop it in the chat of Fantasy Pros MLB. In the meantime, we're going to run through. Yeah, you can guess.
Miguel Cabrera?
That is incorrect.
Juan Pierre?
No.
I have no more guesses.
All
I have no more guesses. Josh Beckett?
Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself.
I have no more. I have no more.
All three were very good guesses. I was hoping you would say Jeff Conine, but no,
Luis
it's not
Castillo.
Jeff Conine.
Okay.
No, it's actually a pretty, I mean, you're going to hate yourself when I tell you the answer. Here's your stat heroes from yesterday. Alcantara, 10 Ks, 8 innings, scoreless. 6 innings scoreless for Scherzer, 11 Ks. Nick Lodolo, 8 Ks, no earned runs, 4 2/3. Alex Kirilloff, who we mentioned before, 3 for 4, 2 dingers. Kyle Schwarber, same thing, 2 home runs. Max Muncy with a nice bounce back game after being terrible on the weekend, 2 for 2 with a home run. Haggerty had a home run. Nathan Lowe hit a home run. Cedric Mullins had a great night at the plate. So did Austin Riley, 3 for 4 with a bomb. Corey Seager, 3 for 5 with a home run, who I just traded for a couple weeks ago. He's getting there. Alex Bregman, 3 for 5 with a dinger. And Aledmus Diaz, the same thing for him. Looking at the chat, I see some Mike Lowell, also a very good one. But no, it is not Mike Lowell. It is not Luis Castillo. It's not Jeff Conine. It's not Pudge Rodriguez. I'll give you the answer after the zeros. I'll give people a little bit more time. Nick Pivetta. I'll take the L. I told everybody Nick Pivetta. That's on me. I'll take it. It's fine. Nick Pivetta, 7 earned runs yesterday. Not good. Michael Kopech, not good either. 6 earned runs. Kikuchi, 4 earned runs. It was a bad night of DFS, folks. Sometimes you eat the bear. Sometimes the bear, he eats you. Willie Adames, 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. Adolis Garcia, both 0 for 5 with 3. Cody Bellinger, old reliable, 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. I'd like to hear a podcast where Cody Bellinger and Blake Snell just talk to each other.
That sounds awful.
It's just like, hey, man, do you see this? No, bro, I didn't see that at all. That's so cool. Yeah, man, I thought so too, bro. Like, that's the podcast we need.
I think you just described like 80% of podcasts in general.
Yeah,
welcome in, man.
Bro, did you see that the other day? What, man?
Crazy.
I don't even remember, bro.
Ooh,
dude,
did Ken just get it? Did Ken just get it there?
Did Ken just get it? Ken did get it. Hanley Ramirez.
Yeah. As soon as I saw it,
I told you. Hanley Ramirez, the most Marlin All-Star Game appearances. There you go. All right. Other hitter zeros. Rhys Hoskins, 0 for 5, 2 Ks. That's okay. He's been red hot for a month. No worries. Eugenio Suarez, 0 for 5 with a K. And then 0 for 4 with 2 K club. Alonso, Cabrian Hayes, Jonathan India, Francisco Lindor, Trey Turner, and Jonathan VR. What a terrible season for Jonathan India, right? I mean, this has just been, man.
Yep.
You just want to punt it. Like, you just want to say,
come back next year. Be big old post hype. Yeah, we'll come back into next year. He's going to come at the best discount for next year, but it is
I'd buy him everywhere in keeper leagues right now on the cheap.
Me too. I think he's a great buy low in Dynasty.
Yeah. Let's go do that. All right, it's time for a little betting pros with BetMGM, the king of sports books. Bet $10, win $200 on any bet, regardless of the outcome. When you use the promo code leading off, that's one word, leading off. BetMGM.com or download the app and bet responsibly, but use the promo code leading off tonight. Jordan Alvarez, 1.5 total bases, plus 102. Jose Barrios at BetMGM is 4.5 on the K prop. That is tenuous, but I think you can get over that. It's against Oakland. It's dicey, but at minus 145 either. I think you put it with something else. If 2 things that are really good locks, I think you can make a nice little parlay with that. And then Jose Ramirez at 1.5 total bases at plus 110. Welsh, you got some prop bets for everybody. What do you got?
Yeah, I like the Jose Ramirez one. I would probably put that on my card. Strikeout prop, Joe Ryan, 4.5 versus the White Sox. I believe they're over 9 strikeouts over their last 3 games, though they are good on the season total. Last 3, they've opened up a little bit. I love me some Joe Ryan. And Freddie Freeman, total bases, he's hitting over 419 in a career versus Jose Reyna, and it's minus 105. It's essentially even money for 2 total bases, a double, a homer, 2 singles, whatever you got to get. Good track record. It's a little BVP, of course, but I'm going to go with Freddie Freeman.
You know what? I almost picked him for my home run call, and because I'm so mad at Jordan Alvarez, I'm going to change it. I'm going to go with Freddie Freeman today. I
That's
know
what I
you got
have.
Freddie Freeman, and you know
So I
what?
picked.
It's time that you and I be together and can celebrate together
Okay.
tomorrow. Let's have a good day together. The night's going to be a good night.
Okay.
Tonight's the night.
Tonight.
Freddie Freeman's going to light it up.
Do anything.
All right.
Yeah, no.
Before we get to the DFS, I promise this. So here it is. This is the winning image. There was a lot of great entries, but I told you this week we pick a winner. We're going to get this person a hat. He's an OG also, and he was laying in the weeds, and then he finally showed us this. Mr. Buster, look at that. Oh my goodness. Look at that. The Ryan Fitzpatrick, because not only did he give us the hair, he gave Joey P the beard and the open chest hair. So all of that together, that is spectacular. I just want to say. Yeah, that
is a look. I think it's a great choice. I still personally love my guy, One Time Boom King, who's on Twitter. His something about
Mary was very good.
That was my favorite. I think that was my favorite, but I sure do like that look. That is quite the look there. The Joey Fitzpatrick.
The Joey Fitzpatrick. Here's the home run board.
Sounds like a singer from Insane.
Everybody knows Joey Fitzpatrick. He's such a good lad. He's a good fella. You should get to know Joey Fitzpatrick. Home run leaderboard has still got high cubbies at the top there at 31. So no change there at the top of the board, except Mike Mayer still there at 26, which is terrible. So we got to get Mike Mayer out of there as fast as possible. All right, let's get to the DFS section here. Luis Severino. I was Joey Fitzpatrick. What do you want?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
9.1K for Severino on DK, 10.1 from Aranola, 9.3 for Christian Javier, and then Brian Bello is 5K. He's going to be very popular tonight. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a Brian Bello secondary arm, but Christian Javier at 9.3, Aranola at 10.1. If you can make it work with those two guys, I would do that. It's a kind of a very tunnel vision tonight in DFS.
Two things. It said bio. It's very confusing because it looks like Bello. It said bio. Brian Bio. That's on my bad. And I like it because this dude hits 100 and he's going to light it up for early innings. And I think, I didn't even see, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't see his K prop on here.
You should look at, look at what that is.
If it is 4.5,
I bet it's 3.5 on FanDuel.
But I will tell you, a lot of these books don't like to get these high minor league strikeout guys on the books early. Spencer Strider didn't, but if they do, and it's 4.5, take the over on bio.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it is bio. It's like I said, it's
one of those
names in the brain right now for me.
Yeah, like Luis GIL. Like it's
on FanDuel single pitcher site. You can have a Severino lineup. He's a little cheaper. I still prefer Javier on the strikeout total, and then Aaron Nola at 10.5. If you want to go in cash, that's fine. And I said last night it was not a good DFS day. Part of the show is we always give you something. It was wrong tonight. We make it back. Keep it simple. Yankees, Phillies, Astros, Dodgers. Those are the lineups to look and target stack wise. And you got some value in there. Aaron Hicks is 2.5 on DK, 2.4 on FanDuel. Didi Gregorius is 2.3. Derek Hall is 2.8 on DK. And Jake Lamb is cheap on both sides too at 2K on FanDuel and 2.3. So free square against the righty who's not very good in Urena. Give it a shot. Just get in some of those better lineups that have some good matchups with some of the cheap guys. Phillies have some cheap guys. Yankees bottom of the order, Astros bottom of the order, and of course the Dodger bottom of the order is pretty cheap. So like I said, I'm going to hold hands with Welsh and we're going to go with Freddie Freeman, and Mike Mayer is going to be back on Mike Trout today. So there you go. There you have it. So any other final thoughts for our peanuts and cracker jacks before we call things out?
Bogman and I are going to be on our twitch.tv/in this league. If I could give a little promotion there, we're doing some live stuff Monday through Thursdays.
Nice.
A little bit after this. So if people want to come check it out, today's our first one playing. It's a fun games. It's fun fantasy stuff we're doing. So twitch.tv.
Not only that, the secret show coming up. I got a little taste of it yesterday after the show. Bogman showed me with the reels, and I had some hilarious. It's basically like ridiculousness where we're going to watch reels and make comments on it. I'm all for that. I told him I want to be on all these because this looks like a good time. I want to get.
Oh my god, you totally! I would love it if you were. Yeah, and it's fun live stream stuff that then hour 2 of it goes to our Patreon where we'll be doing podcasts and stuff like that. But yeah, the ridiculousness side is fun.
I can't wait for that. So go check out the ITL Army on Patreon, and that'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on for the Welsh. I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.